Hey guys, what's going on? Blaine back for another Netflix review, and today I'm going to be talking about Carnaval. Carnaval is a Brazilian comedy that tells the story of Nina, a social media influencer who finds out that her boyfriend is cheating on her and she promptly breaks up with him, and to get over the breakup, she invites 3 of her best friends to go on a trip to Bahia together with her to experience the country's biggest carnival. She quickly forgets about her ex and has a good time hanging out with her friends at first, but over the course of the story she starts to focus less on spending time with her friends and spending more time on trying to grow her social media profile, which raises the ire of her friends as the story goes on. So it's pretty much your average movie talking about how bad social media is versus how good friendships are, and how things that happen in real life are way more important than those that happen in the online world. Although it's pretty cliche in its presentation of these topics, I have to confess that I enjoyed this movie a little more than I thought I would. I think a lot of that has to do with the variety of characters that are featured in this movie, which normally I would say is a bad thing because it means there's less time given to focus on their individual personalities, but I still felt that they were different and memorable enough that they were able to keep things fresh as the story went on. I felt that Nina, the social media influencer and the main character of the story, had the best arc out of all the characters, understandably so considering that she is the main character. I think her actress did a great job showcasing how negatively impacted she can be by her presence online, specifically how upset she gets whenever an internet meme is posted about her making fun of her, as well as having to choose between hanging out with a famous singer and her friends during the whole parade thing that's going on. I just love how much nuance she added to her character in this movie. I also thought that her best friend Mehra was pretty decent too, not quite as memorable compared to Nina, but she does make up with it for having what I think is the best backstory out of all the characters. It is mentioned in the beginning that she's a veterinarian, although the movie doesn't really explore that aspect of her character. It spends more time focusing on the fact that she's afraid of crowds, which I always thought was a bit weird considering that she's going to an extremely crowded event in the movie. I do like that the movie used flashbacks to show where her phobia began, as well as her friendship with Nina and how it's been cemented over time, but as far as how the whole phobia thing is used, I felt that it didn't really take advantage of that premise enough. It just felt inconsistent how it was implemented. Like there might be one scene where she's clearly surrounded by people but she's not bothered by it at all, and then the next thing you know she ends up having a panic attack out of nowhere. I just didn't really understand how her phobia worked in this movie. The third girl in the group, Michelle, is a bit of a hit or miss for me. She's considered to be the main source of comedy relief in the group, although most of that consists of her running up to random guys and smooching them and saying the odd crass line of dialogue here and there. Sometimes funny, most of the time not. The fourth and final girl, Vivi, is considered to be the geek of the group, and I thought that she was the worst characterized out of all of them, mostly because of how lazily implemented her personality was as a geek. It just consisted of random pop cultural references and her claiming to be a shut-in as far as her being social is concerned, yet she clearly has no problem being surrounded by people just like Mehra does. So yeah, the girls themselves are a bit of a mixed bag overall, but thankfully there are a few side characters in this movie that do help make things a little better. There's a celebrity influencer named Luana who develops a sort of rivalry between her and Nina, and that just made for all sorts of fun scenes between the two as they're trying to outsnark each other. Although I hate the direction that they took with her character toward the end, she was definitely a good character overall. I also thought the singer Freddy was pretty enjoyable too. You really get a sense that he's a nice guy who knows he's famous but isn't conceited about it at all, and he loves spending time with Nina and supporting her in her journey to try and raise her social media presence. As opposed to Luana, I do like the direction that they take with Nunez's character toward the end of the movie, but at the same time, I couldn't help but feel that it was rushed and incomplete. I just found myself wanting more out of that angle. At this point in the review, I also have to say that this movie definitely takes advantage of its premise. I don't know what it is about every Brazilian movie that I've seen this year, but the one thing that they all have in common, and this one is no exception, is that they are all a feast for the eyes. The movie is practically falling over itself trying to show how beautiful the city of Salvador and the general Bahia area is. From the aerial shots of the beaches to the close-up ones of the girls in the middle of the parade, every scene in this movie is colorful, vibrant, and absolutely loaded with energy. It also helps that this movie isn't a total downer to watch. Although there is conflict that does happen in its story, its vivid settings and upbeat soundtrack help to liven things up a lot. And I know I'm going to be a bit controversial when I say this, but I thought that it was surprisingly competent in how it handled its themes relating to social media. It is technically shallow, and there's not much depth to those themes, but considering what kind of movie this is to begin with, I'm surprised that there was any depth to the movie at all. You can genuinely tell that the filmmakers were trying to do a little more than just being your average girl power / epic party movie. That said, however, this movie is supposed to be a comedy, and as with the characters that I mentioned earlier, this too is a bit of a mixed bag. I will say say that there are some scenes in this movie that are genuinely hilarious. There's one scene where the four girls sneak into a hotel and they're at a pool that they're not supposed to be at because they have the wrong color of wristband, and this hotel guy comes up to them asking where their wristbands are. The girls proceed to pretend that they don't know how to speak Portuguese by talking back to him in really broken French and English and Spanish, and the guy knows how to speak all of those languages, and just seeing the looks on those girls' faces in that moment was priceless. I love that scene. Most of the time, however, the comedy isn't that nuanced. Usually it comes in one of two situations. It either comes in the form of physical humor where someone gets hurt in some crazy random situation, or it's just some sort of drunk shenanigans, which happens constantly in the movie. The movie also feels the need to tack on romances for most of these girls at the last minute, and I don't really understand why, considering that these guys they're paired up with are just as shallow as the girls are. Although now that I say that out loud, I suppose that they're a match made in heaven. Nina's romance was okay for the most part, but everyone else's was forgettable at best and cringeworthy at worst, especially Michelle's. I really couldn't stand how Michelle's romance arc went down. Overall, Carnival is a pretty simplistic movie, but it's still somewhat entertaining, more so than I thought it was going to be anyway. If you just want to turn your brain off and have a good time and enjoy an upbeat, positive comedy, I think that you would definitely enjoy watching this movie. Everything about it should seem terrible at first glance, but after having watched it, I can say that the filmmakers definitely put some heart into it, and in the end, I still had some fun watching it. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up my review of Carnival. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, stay tuned for the next part, where next time I review the Swedish dramedy, Dancing Queens. Bye-bye.